The portage around the Great Falls of Missouri was a grueling experience that took the Corps of Discovery 3 weeks in June of 1805 to complete.
The summers are short in Montana, and to spend that much time portaging around the Great Falls and to not know from there what they were getting into as far as, you know, where the river was going to go, how to get over the mountains, how to connect with the Columbia. A lot of unknown.
For Meriwether Lewis, getting past the Great Falls meant it was time to use his experimental boat that he designed while in Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
The experiment. It worked so well here. He had all the materials he needed. Then he's out on the Missouri River and he goes to put his collapsible canoe, well, uncollapse it, get everything. He realizes, oh, this place is very different than Virginia and Maryland.
They take out the parts. They find animals to shoot, to skin, and to use. But there are no areas around here that contain natural tar or pitch.
He made another experiment with other materials. It didn't work and the thing sank, and so they ended up burying it. And to this day, archaeologists have not located it.
Continuing on the river, the Corps of Discovery moved ever closer to the Rocky Mountains. They passed through a section of the Missouri River surrounded by tall cliffs that Lewis dubs the Gates of the Mountains.
The Gates of the Mountains, that area was a beautiful area, and certainly very cliff-like and unexpected from everything that they had seen here. So just the change in topography for that.
They head south, which is also not exactly what they were expecting. You know, when the river turns south, it's going the wrong direction. They're used to going west and north. Now it's going directly south.
Once the expedition has reached the source of the Missouri, the three rivers they now know as the Jefferson, Gallatin, and Madison, the question now is, where do we go from here?
Sacagawea recognized the Missouri Headwaters when they arrived there. This was the place that her people were attacked by the Hidatsa that had captured her.
Seeking to return to a westerly path toward the mountains, the Corps of Discovery chose to follow the Jefferson River, named so because Thomas Jefferson wanted them to head west.
Every day on the Jefferson River was a trial of its own.
As they took the Jefferson, it wasn't too far along on the Jefferson where Sacagawea started to go a little bit crazy. And I mean crazy in a good way.
Sacagawea begins to identify landmarks that she knows to be, this is where my peoples were.
They started looking and they came to a place called the Beaverhead, and she said, there it is, the Beaverhead. And
there is a Beaverhead Rock, which, looks like, the beaver headed towards the river there.
She said, this is where my people used to live. This is where my people used to winter. At this point, Lewis is like, I got to work ahead. The canoes are just too slow. So Clark's going to stay with them, and he's going to work ahead with a team of about 4 or 5. Lewis takes the walk up to the top of the ridge and looks over and realizes that they're going to need horses. They got to find those Shoshone.
They sort of envisioned the mountains from the east coast of older, smooth, worn-down mountains, and they got up to Lemhi Pass and they could see mountain range after mountain range after mountain range, rugged, snow-covered. Holy cow, what have we got ourselves into here?
They were trying to meet those people. They knew that they needed horses. It was really trying to make that contact.
They just start looking, and they're following trails, and they do run into some Shoshone, and then they run into a couple other Shoshone.
Eventually a group of Shoshone, including Kameawait, come into contact with Lewis and the members of the expedition.
They set up a meeting, and they got to wait for Clark to make his way up because he's got Sacagawea with him, but they set up a meeting, and Lewis and his men live with Kameawait for a few days until they can get Clark up there.
The Shoshone peoples have had some contact with white explorers. They know a little bit about them, but they're not too certain about who this group is.
When Sacagawea walks into that teepee where Kameawait was, and she saw Kameawait, she says, brother, brother. And he says, sister. It's literally a brother-sister reunion.
Once that reunion occurs, that opens a huge door for the expedition, because then they are seen correctly as the people who have brought a member of their tribe back home, they must be okay.
They called it Camp Fortunate for the next 10, 14 days. They stay there at Camp Fortunate. This is where they're going to bury their canoes that they have. They find a pond and they just literally bury those canoes down in the bottom of that pond. They're going to bury a lot of other stuff there because they're going to put everything they have, the rest of their stuff, on horses. I think they have like 38 horses they purchase. And because Kamehameha is very generous with the horses, and that's partly because of Sacagawea's influence, I think, on her brother, they're able to buy horses on the cheap. They are able to get going.
So many people, I think, have a misconception on the role that Sacagawea played on the expedition. But she was very important, and if they would not have had her with her when they came across the Shoshone Indians, and the chief happened to be her brother, who knows what would have happened.
For more information or to become involved with the Lewis and Clark Trail Alliance, visit lewisandclark.org. To learn more about Shenandoah University and the Shenandoah Center for Immersive Learning, visit su.edu/skill.